everybody. This is a demonstration on how to polyurethane your project once it's all done. So this is a student's one, and I just asked him if I could polyurethane it for them for this video so I can show people how to do this. So he was okay with that. So a couple things first on this one. Normally, this is something newer that we did kind of change. Is that normally try not to glue down your mirror. Sorry, normally try not to glue down your mirror because the polyurethane will leave kind of like a film on it, and it won't be nearly as shiny. So normally, I would say 99.9% of the time, you're going to want to leave all the mirror off of it, polyurethane it, go back, then glue down the mirror, and then you can go ahead and grout it. Okay, so do try to make sure that that's the case. In this case, you know, it kind of is what it is. I did notice also that one of his pieces of glass were glued upside down, and then it also came off. So the black, you know, stuck to the table here, but it didn't stick to the glass. So do also try to remember when you do this to make sure that when you glue it down, it should be the glass side down and the paint side up, so you don't run into those problems nearly as much. So there's ways to fix it when we're all done with it. That I'll probably show maybe in a video if I have an issue with it, then we can kind of go from there. Otherwise, I have my polyurethane out. It doesn't really matter the brand. It is nice if it's just polyurethane, so make sure you have that. Usually it's in our yellow cabinet, whether the small one in the kiln room or our larger one where all the spray paint is at. I'm also going to need a brush. And you want to grab the brush out of our jar that says mineral spirits on there, because normally when we do this project we have all this stuff out. So look for this jar, grab this. Also make sure you have a couple layers of newspaper down on there. If you do notice, I also have an apron on. Polyurethane does not come out of clothes. So if you do like what you wear, I would definitely put an apron on before you spill it on yourself rather than after, and then you put the apron on. It doesn't really work very well that way. So I'm gonna kind of stand up. I'm gonna go over this and we will see how it goes. So I have my polyurethane here, my brush. If you take it directly out of this this container here of mineral spirits, you do want to go back and forth and really dry that off the best that you can, because you don't want any mineral spirits on this, while you're polyurethane this entire project. This I already took the lid off of it, but you might have to use one of these keys. They are with them, so you just kind of pry them off the best that you can. Do your best job not to get polyurethane along the inside of this ring, because we do want to be able to attach this back on here again so we can keep reusing it. So I just go in. If you do notice, I go about halfway in, so just half the brush. You never go up to the ferrule, which is the metal part, so just half the bristles. And then you gently go back and forth on this as I go left and right. So half. You don't want to put too much on, you don't want to put too little on. So it's always, like anything else, it's always about moderation. And the reason why you don't want to have too little is because the polyurethane is what protects the spray paint from coming off during the grouting process. So you do have to have like a nice coat, not a thin one, but not a thick one. So again, just kind of that middle ground. You don't want to have it too thick because polyurethane is a oil-based product. I have tried using water-based ones and they've failed on us many times. So this is the only thing we can do. So if it's oil-based, it's going to have a little yellowish tint to it. You won't notice it as long as you don't go too thick. So that was the other part of it. So your colors will be fine as long as you don't apply too much of it. So do notice I'm just kind of going back and forth. I'm going to go all the way down, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to do another coat, and I'm going to go opposite of that. So I'm going to speed up this video, and you can kind of watch as I finish this up. Okay, so I'm done putting on my two coats. I'm really making sure, like, I'm not adding any more onto this. I'm just going back and forth. This is how I'm kind of thinning it out to make sure it's not too thick and make sure I have still a nice coat on there multiple times going in different directions. When I was doing this, there were like 4 pieces that kind kind of came off while I was doing it, which is unusual. So I will have to talk to that student about their gluing ability. But it kind of is what it is. And it's not that big a deal because your polyurethane is going to act as your adhesive, so it's going to act as your glue. So I didn't stop, I didn't freak out, and say, oh, I got to glue that down and wait another 24 hours. No, just I put some polyurethane underneath, like this one right here, a couple other ones. I like this one right here is loose. I'm just moving around and I know there's polyurethane underneath there, so then I know that it's fine. So next step is I want to make sure that everything is coated. So what I do is I'm going to go underneath here, and again, don't get it on your hands either. As long as you're careful, you should be fine. Is I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to leave it like this. You can see those reflection lights from the ceiling. By looking at that, you can really tell what has a nice even gloss on it and what doesn't. When you notice it doesn't, it's because it doesn't look wet there. It's just a couple streaks of a brush, and that was kind of about it. So I go back and forth because I'm looking, from my perspective, it's really glossy right here. From yours, it's down here. So I guess I'm going to kind of look in your area, and I go back and forth with it, moving that light back and forth, watching that gloss hit. And if I noticed anything, I would go back and say, for instance, like right here, if it was not super glossy because I could see those brush strokes, then I would just go back and I would just do this and just kind of touch it up a little bit and you'd be fine. The other thing that I want to look for is that these are called chip brushes. Not super expensive, they're not super cheap either, but every now and then the bristles come off of it. So I get down pretty low and I start looking at it really close, looking for individual strands of that. Now it's just a crack in the glass. But I want to see if there's anything on there because once it dries on there and you peel it off, then you'll have that, it'll be a little dent inside of that, and it's a little annoying. But I do not see anything. I see just a couple cracks in the mirror, but this is fine. So this is all done. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna open this jar up and just stick this inside, swish around, and then leave it in there for the next person to be able to use. You put the lid back on top of here. I'm going to grab a rag. Put a rag over top of this. Hammer that in place. And by doing this, to make sure it doesn't splatter all over yourself. And then you put this away. This you'll lift up and you'll put it back on your larger red shelf. You'll throw away all the newspaper because once you get the polyurethane on there, or most it's really no longer recyclable. And then you wait 24 hours before we grout this. So we'll show that video next. But if you have any questions or whatever, come get me. I do like to look at this before you put it away. Just make sure that you do have everything. Other than that, good luck on the project, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.